Angel Reese calls Caitlin Clark too little.
Angel Reese stood at center court, doing the too little gesture, celebrating like she just won a championship. And the scoreboard behind her read 113-96. Back-to-back wins over Caitlin Clark, back-to-back wins over the Indiana Fever, and not close ones. The Atlanta Dream did not just beat Indiana, they set a franchise record for points in a single game. 113 points in a regular season game.
Clark with 5 points in the early going and gets fouled there by Canada. And then Caitlin and Angel with a little something to say to each other.
And Reese was right there, front and center, making sure you knew it. But if you watched the whole game, and not just the final score, you know something was wrong long before the Dream pulled away, something deeper. Something more systemic, because Caitlin Clark did not lose this game. It was taken from her.
Let us start.
7 assists, very efficient, 61.1%. We did our job. Listen, all you Caitlin Clark haters, Indiana Fever haters, listen, this was on the team, and I'm going to do another video. This was not on Caitlin. I know y'all be want to try to do all this and that to Caitlin, try to tear her down and stuff. This wasn't on Caitlin. Caitlin did what she had.
Let us start at the beginning, because the beginning of this game told you everything you needed to know about what Caitlin Clark is capable of when she is actually allowed to play her game. In the first quarter, Clark was unstoppable. 13 points, 0.5 of 6 from the field, 0.3-4 from three-point range. The Indiana Fever were on a 37-point first quarter pace. A pace that would have been a franchise-level offensive performance if they had sustained it for 4 quarters. The Fever led 37-30 after the first 12 minutes. Think about that number, 37 points in a single quarter. Against an Atlanta Dream team that came into this game with momentum, confidence, and a mission.
From this cesspool, it is prison for this girl having to go work at that damn facility in this organization at this point. I want Caitlin Clark free from the Indiana Fever. Y'all don't want to fire this bum Stephanie White. Y'all don't want to get rid of this ball hog Kelsey Mitchell. Then let Caitlin Clark go. Free her to another team so she can get out of here, man. This is ridiculous. Absolute insanity. The Indiana Fever got embarrassed in Atlanta, 113-96. It did not look like it was about to play out this way in the first half. Caitlin Clark was on an absolute heater to start out the first quarter. The girl was 3 for 3 from 3. She had like 11 points, was lighting them up.
Clark was reading the floor at full speed. She was getting into her pull-up rhythm from logo range. She was making the exact decisions that turn regular WNBA games into must-watch television. In that first quarter, everything was working exactly the way it is supposed to work when you build your offense around the best playmaker in the league, and then Stephanie White made her decisions.
Is there a reason why she keeps benching Caitlin Clark in the second quarter? Because they go to timeout, or they go to the end of the quarter. There's time in between that, yada, 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 rest, blah, blah, blah. They come back from TV commercial, Caitlin Clark's still out. Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell were still in. Caitlin Clark came out hot. Caitlin Clark did all she could in this game, although she had 5 turnovers in the third quarter. That's not good. But from an offensive standpoint, she did all she could. There were blown layups.
Here is what happened to the Fever after that 37-point first quarter. The scoring cratered. 22 points in the second quarter, 15 points in the third, 22 in the fourth. Meanwhile, the Dream stayed consistent, dropping 26 to 30 points every single quarter, cool and calculated, never wavering, never panicking. The Dream did not make some dramatic halftime adjustment that changed everything. They did not unlock a secret weapon, they just kept doing what they were doing, and the Fever stopped doing what was working. The math on this is impossible to argue with. When the Fever were running the offense through Clark and letting her operate, they scored 37 points in one quarter. When White pulled back from that approach, the offense collapsed to 15 points in a quarter. 15. You are talking about a drop from an elite offensive pace to one of the worst output quarters a professional team can put together. That is not the opponent getting tougher, that is the coach getting in the way.
It's such an idiot. Ty Harris hadn't played the whole game. You subbed her in when the Indiana Fever cut the lead to 10 with 7 minutes left. Why are you subbing her in the game? She hasn't played all night. She's freezing cold. You're trying to make a final push to get back in the game. Why are you subbing in Ty Harris? Stephanie White is an idiotic coach. She's a buffoon, a clown. She needs to be fired immediately. This is a joke, you guys. What they have done in Indiana is absolute, just a travesty, man. It is ridiculous what they've done with this team. The Indiana Fever suck. The Indiana Fever are going to run around beating up the bums of the league. The Connecticut Suns, the Toronto Tempos. They'll beat the Seattle Storm. This team ain't good, though. They can't beat any good team in this league, bro.
This is the pattern that repeats itself every single game. Not just this one, every game Caitlin Clark gets hot. The offense starts flowing, the crowd gets involved, the Fever look like world beaters, and then Stephanie White deliberately moves away from running the offense through her. It is as if the moment things start working too well, something clicks in White's coaching philosophy that says, slow it down, run the system, trust the structure. But the structure does not have 13 points in 12 minutes, the structure does not pull peak viewership numbers. Clark does, and the moment you take the ball out of her hands and ask her to function as a passenger in a system built for someone else, the scoreboard starts looking like what it looked like in the third quarter. 15 points. Stephanie White is not a bad person. She is not sitting in the locker room trying to sabotage Caitlin Clark, but coaching decisions do not have to come from bad intentions to produce bad results, and these results are bad. The evidence is on the tape, it is in the box score, and it is in the quarter-by-quarter breakdown that fans have now watched repeat itself across multiple games this season.
Now let's
Now, let us talk about what was happening on the other side of the floor, because it did not go unnoticed. Angel Reese was out there asking her teammates to go down, flopping, selling contact that was barely there, leaning into defenders at awkward angles, and finding creative ways to get to the free throw line. The officials bought it more than once, and every time a Dream player hit the deck and pointed at a Fever player, the crowd reacted, the momentum shifted, and Indiana had to reset emotionally on top of already being in a scoring drought. It was tactical, it was deliberate, and it was one of the ugliest strategies in basketball. Using the officials as a weapon by rewarding exaggerated contact.
With how she plays this end of the floor. Shot clock didn't start. That was the reason for the slight delay there. What I thought was cool in looking at Atlanta's history when it comes to teammates who are 1 and 2 in steals.
Reese herself picked up a flagrant foul in the game, so she was not exactly the poster child for clean by the book basketball on this particular night. She received a flagrant one after review showed her foul had wind up impact, non-basketball play, and potential for injury, and yet, after all of that, after the flagrant, after the flopping culture she was encouraging, she stood at center court celebrating like the Dream had done something historic and honorable. They did win. The celebration, though, deserves context.
I just think just my work. I think people don't realize rebounding is harder than you think. Defensive rebounds a little bit more easier, but going in and crashing every single time to get second chance opportunities on the offensive end, you can look statistically, they're not just from my shots, they're from my teammates, and it gives us more points. It gives us more opportunities, and just being able to come out and do what I do every single night just shows to my consistency. And I think a lot of times I'm really hard on myself about how well I want to be and how great I want to be, but just taking my time and just knowing that I've done some great things and just patting myself on the back and just knowing that I want more.
Because this was not even the first time 2 days before the 113-96 demolition the Dream came into Gainbridge Fieldhouse Fever home turf and beat Indiana 108-101. Reese put up 21 points and 11 rebounds, her layup and free throw with 23 seconds left sealed it. The Fever had fought back. Clark had 26 points. Kelsey Mitchell contributed alongside her. Indiana made it competitive, and then the Dream held on to close it out. 2 games, 2 losses. Back-to-back. And both times, Angel Reese was celebrating in Caitlin Clark's direction before the locker room doors had even opened. You want to understand why this stings beyond just the score, because Clark never calls anyone out, she never takes shots, she never stands over someone after a big play, she is relentlessly professional. In a league where some players have decided that being antagonistic toward her is its own form of personal branding, and Reese has made a career out of making sure every win over Indiana comes with an exclamation point aimed directly at number 22. Here is the other part of the story that deserves honest attention. Angel Reese could not finish over Clark. That is not a typo. In the half court, when it mattered most. When Indiana needed stops and Reese needed to be the bucket getter, she struggled to get clean looks. Over Clark's contest and the Fever's interior pressure, the Dream's big offensive night came from Ryan Howard's 24 points. And Alicia Gray's 22, not from Reese dominating Clark one-on-one in the post. Reese's impact was in the rebounding. And in the physical presence, not in breaking Clark down systematically the way the box score celebration might make you believe, but when the camera cuts to the celebration, none of that context makes it into the moment. You just see Reese with her arms out and Clark on the losing side.
Now let us
Y'all know that Michael Jordan and Caitlin Clark shoe debut games ended with a loss. Look, just let that set in, because people want to try to clown Caitlin and be like, oh, this is it. Oh, she tried to show her shoe off, her little shoe off, and she lost. And when Michael Jordan released his first shoe too, he also lost. And I'm saying that to say, y'all do realize this is basketball. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Just because she lost that game, that doesn't say that she's not going to have a great career. She's not going to be the best WNBA player of all time. She got a great chance to become that.
Now let us talk about what this losing streak is costing outside of the box score, because the timing of all of this matters more than most people are saying out loud. On June 16th, just 4 days before the second